Johnson again, ole ole. Tottenham Hotspur are back, ladies and gentlemen. Tottenham win our opening game of the season, as we had to, 3-0 against Burnley, and I'm very, very pleased. I am giddy after being back there today. The atmosphere was top, beforehand, afterwards, throughout the entire match. A good performance from Spurs, and I want to get into a couple of the bits that I thought were really, really cool to see from the performance. Richarlison, you know what I mean? That might be our starting striker sorted for the season. Dominic Solanke, if Richarlison stays fit, which has always been the biggest question with him, then there might be some competition for you, mate. And, obviously we're expected to beat Burnley. To briefly touch upon Burnley before we get into the proper video, obviously if you are new here as well, please do like and subscribe. I have had a few pints today, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit if I'm a little bit all over the place, but it should be alright, I hope. But Burnley are getting relegated, I think. There was nothing really to cling on to, I guess, if you're a Burnley fan today. They created a few chances against us. There were a couple of moments where they got in down the left-hand side, down our right-hand side in the first half, cut the ball back and had a couple of, half chances, sort of flash shots across goal, and there was nothing really to be too worried about. I don't think there's too much to analyse in terms of a defensive performance. I think, we didn't really have too many threats to deal with there. It was mainly ball in their half, them camped in their penalty area, creating chances, a couple of moments of individual brilliance, and how we broke them down. And that's what I wanted to get into, sort of how we did break them down and sort of the key players in that. Now, we set the tone early on, first minute of the game. I think we kicked off, sent the ball back to Vicario, and Vicario was able to step up to near enough the halfway line, with Burnley just dropping off immediately, giving the ball out to Pedro Porro, whipped the ball in, went over to Brennan Johnson, the ball got put back across by Mohamed Kudus, and then Lucas Bergvall with a lovely touch inside the penalty area, setting the tone for his game as well. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and getting a decent chance in early on, which was saved quite well by Martin Dubravka. And like I said, that really set the tone, and 10 minutes in, obviously, the first goal. Now, this cannot be underestimated, just how good this was from Richarlison. I mean, from Kudus as well, skips away from his man, that little burst of pace, but it's not the best ball. It's a ball that's, decent because it's found a target, right, in a quite a crowded penalty area. It was a 4-on-2 in the penalty area. Richarlison's peeled off the back of Kyle Walker, found himself a little bit of space, and this ball is up at shoulder height. Is up at shoulder height when Richarlison connects with it, on the volley. A very difficult finish. And it's a lovely finish as well, because the way he hits it is always going away from Dubravka into that far corner. So he doesn't have to get loads of power on it, loads of pace on it. But it's a lovely guided finish with his right foot. And I was honestly buzzing for him. When the lineups came out, I was sort of a bit like, oh, maybe Solanke wasn't fully fit enough. I'd have liked to see Solanke play, whatever. I mean, rest Richarlison after Wednesday, whatever. But I was gassed to see Richarlison in the start of the lineup, and I was like, right, a goal for him today would do the world of good for his confidence. Get through the game injury-free, a goal. That would be absolutely 10 out of 10. Beautiful stuff. And that is exactly what he did, but not just one goal, 2 goals. And that first goal was so well taken, such intelligent movement in the penalty area, such great anticipation, and a lovely strike as well, and a really, really nice finish, a top striker's finish. And then again, in the second half, kind of going through the highlights a little bit here, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I think the midfield worked really well, with the midfield structure. Archie Gray, obviously an unexpected start for him as well today, but the second goal, again, just brilliance from Kudus. Kudus is a superstar. That touch in the second half, that little Neymar touch, the Cruyff touch, was so good. So good. It had me out of my seat. Let's actually see if we can spot me. I think I was literally just out of frame in the south stand. That I was block 256, row 19, but I was literally just out of shot there, but saw Kudus right in front of me, shifting that ball with such ease, and then puts in another cross with his right foot, and the way Richarlison twists in the air, manoeuvres his body, and I've actually spoken about this on TikTok, the way that it's not an overhead kick, but it's sort of like a side scissor / overhead sort of thing, and he's so good at it. It's like he almost throws his body at it, throws his foot forward in one motion. It's incredible. I mean, he's done it for Brazil. He's done it in training for Brazil when those clips came out. He's tried to do it for Spurs before, and he's now done it for Spurs in an official game. And I mean, just a moment of pure brilliance, like an unbelievable individual moment. 2 brilliant finishes from him, and Richarlison won us that game today. His individual moments won us that game, and that's what you need from a striker. That is what you need from a striker, and that was so pleasing to see with Richarlison. The third goal as well, don't underestimate Richarlison's impact in that. The way that he holds the ball up there, lays it off for Pat Matasar. I actually think it was he kind of wanted to recollect that, but Sarr stole in, so good again. Anticipation from Pat Matasar. Brennan Johnson, as soon as he sees Sarr take that first touch, he's off into that gap there. It's a quality ball from Pat Matasar. Kyle Walker comes flying out and gets nowhere near it. I hate to say it, guys, I do think Kyle Walker is pretty finito. It'd be interesting to see what kind of season he has past this point. But Brennan Johnson in behind, and there's only one outcome, as we all know. Johnson again, LA. I was enjoying singing that this afternoon, and it was a little bit of a heavy touch actually from Johnson. I thought he'd let it get away from him a little bit, but a lovely poked finish with the outside of his right boot as he's running at full pace. It's just, it's lovely to see from Brennan Johnson. I don't think he had the best game. I think he was really in and out of it today, but a great goal, and I was really pleased with him. Again, I thought something I'm going to talk about in a second, where I thought Johnson and Spence didn't really necessarily have the best relationship on that left-hand side in terms of creating chances, and I think in this one instance you kind of saw it improve when Wilson-Odobert did come on the pitch. Obviously, this is not a slight on Johnson. Johnson is a player with massive qualities. I just don't think he's that suited to playing on the left-hand side with Jed Spence, who is right-footed. I just don't think the angles they can create for each other, I don't think they necessarily complement each other's games well. And you saw with Odobert, who's a player who can stay out wide more, better on the ball, can sort of, take on his man 1v1, allow Jed Spence to make those runs off him and past him. And that's exactly what happened in here. And Jed Spence chopped back and created a chance out of that. So that was a little example of a little bit of what I wanted to talk about. I'll start with that, because this left-hand side dynamic, I actually don't think worked very well in terms of a lot of the ball had to go down our right-hand side, which is fine. You've got two players over there in Pedro Porro and Mohamed Kudus, who are the primary creators, and whoever we have on the left-hand side, a lot of the play is going to go down the right-hand side regardless when you've got a player as good as Mohamed Kudus over there. But the thing is with Jed Spence is that Brennan Johnson was forced to stick to the touchline, which, as we all know, is not where you get the best out of Brennan Johnson, because Jed Spence was sort of driving with the ball up in these areas, and Johnson is a player as well who, when he is playing a little bit wider, when he is out on that touchline, as he was today playing on the wing, he likes to make that run in beyond, and he likes to get that little clip ball down the line. You saw that so often last season with Pedro Porro playing that little clip ball down the line that Brennan Johnson runs onto. But Jed Spence, playing as a right-footed left back, just doesn't really have that in his locker, or doesn't have the correct angle to play that over to Brennan Johnson. And there were a lot of times when Spence was sort of looking to combine with Johnson, and that's what Jed Spence is so good at, right? Is he'll drive with the ball, he'll give it out to the winger, and he'll make that run past them. But again, Johnson just isn't the kind of player who can receive on the touchline with a man on him and really make the best of that situation. There was a couple of times where he drove inside quite nicely, to be fair, but that relationship with Spence and Johnson on the left-hand side just isn't very strong. I think it would have looked a lot better if a doggy played on that left-hand side today, obviously injured, but I think he'd help out Johnson on that left-hand side just in terms of those angles, and as a player who runs on the outside of him a little bit more than Jed Spence does. But it didn't work too well. I thought it looked a little bit better when Odobert came on, but Johnson was so effective in other areas of the game in terms of that run through, coming more central. I thought he drove inside the pitch nicely a few times, and obviously coming more central for his goal too. I just didn't, him playing out on that touchline with Jed Spence is a bit of a no-go for me. The other thing that I thought was really interesting was the midfield. I mean, Archie Gray getting quite an unexpected start. I thought he really grew into the game. I didn't think he had an amazing first half. I think he had a steady first half to get himself into the feel of things, and then second half you started to see him, he's feeling himself a little bit more. There was one lovely ball that he played into Brennan Johnson in the penalty area with the outside of his right boot. He was dictating things a little bit better. He was reading the game a little bit better, being more confident and aggressive in stepping onto Burnley's midfielders, and that was really good to see from him in the second half. And how nice was it to see just some proper rotation for Archie Gray to be getting a chance, and Paulinho and Bentancur, who played on Wednesday, to be coming on later in the game. They're not necessarily always needed as much, and Bentancur and Paulinho to get a rest, and Gray being trusted with those minutes in the midfield. Lucas Bergvall, I mean, he was spectacular today. He really was. The way that he was linking with players around him, driving with the ball, so intelligent. His touch is so good. He's so good at shielding the ball. He's so good at knowing when to make those little bursts past his man and receive the ball in these areas and drive at the opposition and drive into the final third, and pick the right pass always and keep things simple, as he's so good at, and making those runs even into the penalty area. And he, like I said, in the first minute, popping up with chances in and around that area. So that was really pleasing to see from Lucas Bergvall's point of view, and he was my personal man of the match outside of Richarlison, obviously the match winner, because I thought Bergvall just dictated things, and I think that when we were struggling a little bit more creatively, I think when Burnley ever thought about coming out to step onto us, to press us a little bit more, to try and make our lives a little bit more uncomfortable, especially after we went 1 and 2-0 up, Lucas Bergvall was the one who was really unlocking that door, unlocking that press, and driving with the ball and, gaining us 30, 40 yards and just pushing Burnley back. And that was really pleasing to see from him. Pat Matasar as well, sweeping up everything, the ground that he was covering, those balls that he loves. He loves that ball where he's sort of stepping in from the left-hand side and just sort of firing it out to that right-hand side to Mohamed Kudus. Did that nicely a few times today. And just all round, the assist he got for the third goal was so good from him. And he's just a ball magnet. The ball just finds its way to him, whether that's defensively or offensively. It just finds its way to him, and he was so effective once again today. And Thomas Frank said in his post-match interview, he was like, I'm not going to praise Sark because I've already done that so much. And you can see what he did today. And it's kind of getting to that point where, is Pat Matasar becoming undroppable for Spurs? He'll certainly play against City next week. If he doesn't play against City next week, I'll be shocked. And he'll certainly play there. And moving forward, I think he's going to be a huge part, an integral part of this Tottenham Hotspur midfield this season. He can play in that double pivot. He can play either side of it. He can play in that 10, and he's going to be such a useful weapon for us this season. And that midfield dynamic worked really well, I thought, especially in the second half. Again, it's Burnley at home. It's not the highest level opposition. We didn't have too much to deal with. Players weren't receiving, Graham Bergvall weren't receiving the ball deep under loads of pressure like you would against the best sides in the league. But it was pleasing to see. Kudus, like I said, is a superstar. He is a superstar. There's no if, buts, or maybes about it. He is a superstar. Richarlison's finishes we've already spoken about. I thought Romero was actually quite sloppy on the ball a few times today, which was a little bit frustrating. And again, defensively, I thought there were a few tackles he put in that weren't very good, and Van der Ven had to sort of sweep up in behind him and deal with a couple of dangerous moments. But Van der Ven was quality today. I thought Pedro Porro was quality going forward today. I thought Vicario again on the ball, I'd have liked a little bit more. There are a few times where I thought his passes drifted out of play a little bit too easy. I'd like to see him have more conviction on the ball, especially in these type of games when he's under as little pressure as he was. And yeah, it was good to see. I thought the subs that came on as well made an impact. Solanke was great. I thought Bentancur was good as well, kept things ticking over. Paulinho was decent. Odobert, Tell came on later in the game and were fine. And yeah, it's just a great start to the season. I'm gassed. We're back. We are back. Maybe we'll win the league. Who knows? 3-0 win on the opening day. We're second in the Premier League table. Actually, that's a lie. We're third now, behind City and Sunderland. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of the game. Let me know what kind of content you want to see next week. I think I'm going to be doing a City breakdown, of course, and then obviously going to the City game at the weekend, and then a City review afterwards. And yeah, up the Spurs. If you're new around here, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And yeah, see you in the next one.